Hello and welcome back, and today we're going to be playing This Fog is a Gas. I did actually drop the A there, just to be able to fit it on the screen. But you can see there in the thumbnail, Sleuth is running around on this pier. And he kind of looks a little bit afraid, which I would be, because you've got tons of fog. But you can see that there is a giant gas tank there in the background that's actually leaking all of that fog. So understandably, Sleuth is looking a little bit apprehensive, looking around, wondering if it's going to go up in flames at any given point. Now, today's puzzle, which I'll bring up on the screen now and walk you through the rules, is very much a fog puzzle, which is one of the favorite variants of this channel viewers. We got the following set of rules. Oh, so this fog is a gas by Megan O33. We featured quite a few puzzles from Megan O33, and they've always been a fan favorite here on this channel. So we've got the following set of rules. A normal Sudoku rule apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. And I can see I was reading a little bit with a black dot between cells indicates cell values with a 2:1 ratio. We can see through the fog here half of 1. And that means if this cell is a 2, this here would have to be 1 or 4 because it needs to be in a 2:1 ratio. However, we have negative constraints today. So all black dots are shown. So that does mean if that was a 2, that couldn't be a 4 because there is no black dot between them. Digits in a cage must sum to the number printed in its corner, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. So if this cell here was, let's say, a 5, this would have to be a 1 to make sure that these two cells add up to the 6 that you can see printed in the top left-hand corner. Last rule, I think. Yep, that does it. That is it. The grid is partially covered with fog. Correctly placed digits will clear the fog around that cell. So if this was indeed a 2, then all of these cells that are around it will be cleared, hopefully giving us more clues so we can actually proceed with the solve for this puzzle. So only thing left to say before we start solving it is, well, watch out for the fog. It's apparently gas. And link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. Do help Sleuth survive this pier with that poisonous gas. And I'm going to just restart the clock and see how I get on. So, I mean, I really tried to avoid having a spoiler when I was walking through the rules, but this is very obviously a 1 and this is a 5. The reason I say that is 6 in 2 cells is either 2, 4, which it isn't because there is no black dot between them, that's the negative constraint, or it's a 1, 5. Now, between the 1 and the 5, which one can actually be on a black dot? 5 can never be on a black dot because for it to be in a 2:1 ratio with another number, it's either going to be a 10, not possible under normal Sudoku rules, or 2.5, which is also not possible with normal Sudoku rules. So that was the 1, that is the 5. This has to be 2, this has to be 4, these are 7 and 9. These are 3, 8, 3, 6, 8. And you can't have the 3 and the 6 next to one another. So if this is 3 or 6, one of them is going to be a neighbor that doesn't have a black dot. So that forces the 8 down the middle. This is not an 8, this is now 3, 6 pair. No conflict, no black dot issues there. The 11 cage. So my options are 2, 9, which it isn't. 9 is again one of these digits that can never be on a black dot, and both cells in the 11 cage need to be. The other option would be 3, 8, which I think it is. 4, 7, problem with the 7, and then 5, 6, problem with the 5. So that is, in fact, forced to be 3, 8, that would be 4, that would be 6. The 7 cage, yeah, because it's not 3, 4, it's not 6, 1. This is 2, 5, and that 2 gives us an order. That's 2, that's 5. You can see the 1 now is none of these cells, so classic Sudoku, not a black rocky dot between these two cells, so the 1 can't be next to it. That's a 1. Haven't resolved these yet. What is left in here? We need 4, which can't be next to the 8, and it's not down here. So that's actually also forced. And then 7 and 9 again. I say again because, you know, they're not resolved still. 7 and 9 and 5. In general, they're going to be almost used like buffer digits because they're the only 3 digits in the Sudoku numbers that cannot be on black crop dots, and therefore you're never going to really have any kind of negative constraints with them. What is this? This is not 1, 6. This is not 3, 4. This is again 2, 5. This probably helps us with the 10 cage if I think really hard about it. So the 10 cage is interesting because it's either 1, 2, 7, 1, 3, 6, 1, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 5. So normally whenever I come across a 10 cage that's in 3 cells, my first question that I try and answer is, does it need to have, could it be a 2, 3, 5, or does it need a 1? And the answer is, no, this is not 2, 3, 5, because you can see that the 5s are eliminated from all 3 cells. So this is a cage, this is a 10 cage that must have a 1. And this one here tells us that the 1 is on this side. So that's the option eliminated. Now, my option of 1, 2, 7 would require 1 in here, 2 there, so that 2 can't be there. Sorry, I'm maybe going a bit too quickly. I can't put the 1 and 2 together in here because there's no black Kropke dot between them. Given the 1 is in here, the 2 would have to be far away from it, and that would have to be the 1. And on, you know, initially that's going to look like it works, but obviously we've got a 2-5 pair. So that doesn't work either. Last option, well, 2 more options for us to consider. The 1, 3 in here would give us 1, 3 with a 6, and looks feasible. In fact, that couldn't be the 3, that I would need to have a buffer between the 6 and the 3 since there's no black Kropke dot. So that would be one option that seems to work. The other option that might work, and it doesn't actually, is 1, 4, 5, because what is this cell? It's not 1 or 4 or 5. So it is forced, that's 1, that's 3, that's 6, and the 10 cage was fully resolvable. I admit I probably went for it a bit too early. There's probably easier things for us to pursue. Let's think about what we have in here. So in there we need 1 and 4 plus a 7, 9. Neither of which are in the 9 cage. I say that obviously 9 can never be in a 2-cell 9 cage because that would require a 0. I'm writing these in high digits because I'm confident it's neither. And this is not a 7 because it would require a 2, which is also not available. So this is 1 or 4. The 4 would require a 5, which is possible. The 1 would require an 8, which is also possible. Not great. That means there's another 1, 4 and a 7, 9. Right, maybe I didn't go for the 10 that early after all. Let's think about what the rest of this box looks like, and we'll come back to this left-hand side. It clearly requires a bit more thinking. I'm fairly sure this 8 cage, by the way, is a 3, 5. You can't tell that the 8 cage here is 3 cells. It could turn, for example, inside the shadow. But the thing is, with the 1, 2, and 4 that are above it, I know that these 2 cells at a minimum are 3 and 5. That's literally kind of the next 2 available digits between 1, 2, 4. And 3, 5 already add up to an 8. There is no way that there is another cell that belongs to this 8 cage. So this is a 2-cell 8 cage. Sadly, we're only to have a negative constraints for the black Kropke dot, so it doesn't really help us. And these cells, I'm sure we can probably figure out what they are, but let's take a look in here for a second first. So 11. 2, 9 is not an option. This 9 would have to be in there, and that would require a 2 next to the 1. Not possible. 8, 3, also not possible. Neither can actually go inside this cell. 4, 7 looks possible. And then 5, 6, not possible because 6 and 5, neither of which can be in this cell. So this is also 4, 7, 4. Sadly, it doesn't actually reveal any more of the grid for us. The rest of this now. So I have 4 digits remaining, which are 1, 3, 8, and 9. You can see the 9 is not there because of the 7-9 pair. Yeah, I'm not actually, Sleuth, I'm not paying attention. This 4, negative constraint, that's a 5, that's a 2, that's a 12 cage. I did say, yeah, 3, 9 has to be in here now, because the remaining digits, which are 1 and 8, don't work. The 8 can't be next to the 4, that's the 1, that's the 8. The 3 and the 9, no real constraints on them right now. I should be able to think about the remainder of this. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 6, 7, 8. No constraints on any of these, unfortunately. 1, 3, and 4 left in here. Again, no real constraints. And 2, 5, and 9. One constraint in that this cannot be a 2. Because no black rocket dot between it and the 1. Right. This is not I'm not going to keep going because, yes, I can continue pencil marking, and I'm sure we will need to, but this is not the way to go about it. So we need another 5, 8. We need a 3, 6. We are missing one more digit. Is it? No. We've got 5, 8 twice and 1 of 3, 6. So 3, 6, 5, 8. What about in here? And the thing is, because this is 3, 6, I know that they're not already together. In there, we need 2, another 3, 6, and then a 7, 9. Yeah, this is nonsense. I'm not going to pencil mark all of that. What are the remaining options? Excuse me. This is 6, 7, 8, 9. This is not 7 or 8. This is not a 6. This is not a 6 either. It can't be next to the 3. So this is 7, 8, 9. 6 and 9. I mean, this is obvious. I say this is obvious. It's not entirely. There's a 6 and 8 in here, just completing the rest of this column, plus a 2. No real restrictions, but, 6 and 8 are gone from here. This is now 7 or 9. Suddenly it went extremely slowly. And again, no real restrictions in here. The only place for a 6, mind you now, not this cell, not these 2 cells, that's the only place for a 6, which reveals more. And this is not 6, 8 because I've just placed it. It is 5, 9. That's not a 9. That's 7, 8. That is the 9. We know what this cell is. That's a 2. No real restrictions on any of its neighbors right now. We know what this is. This is 1, 4, and 7. Again, no real restrictions on any of them. Starting to be a bit of a habit, if I'm honest. We've got 6, 7, 8, 9 in here. If I can figure out what is going on here, that would be really helpful. There's clearly a cage that's meant to help us. Am I just... Yes. That's the problem all along. 4 doesn't work because there's no black rocky dot between it and the 8. You're probably screaming at your screens for this one. So that's the 1. That's an 8. These are not 8s. This is 3, 5, 6. Neither of these are 1. This is 4, 7, 9. Inside the 10 cage, it can't be a 9 because I've already used the 1. So that's not a 9. If it's a 4, that would have to be a 6. If it's a 7, that would have to be a 3. Both of which are available. But anyway, that's the second 3, 6. So I now have a 7, 9, and a 2. And the 2 can't be right next to the 1. That's not the 2. That can't be the 4, therefore. That is the 4. That's the second 7, 9. So these are 7, 9s. This is now forced to be a 6. That's a 3. That's a 6. These are not 3s. That's not what I meant to say. These are not 6s. This is 3, 5. That is a 2, 3, 5, 10 cage. That 2 removes a 2 from here. Again, no real restriction on the rest of it with negative constraints. The 12 cage, is that what I'm meant to be looking at? So the 12 cage is interesting because normally there's 3 ways of doing it in 2 cells. It could be 3, 9, but it can't be 4, 8 because 4, 8 are in a 2-to-1 ratio and there's no black crop dot between them. And then the last option would be 5, 7. So this is 5, 7, 3, 9, which if you look up the rest of the column, forms a quadruple. Essentially, there's a 3, 5, which pairs up with this 3, 5, and a 7, 9, which pairs up with a 7, 9. So we've got a quadruple in here, and then that might allow me to think about the rest of this column a bit more peacefully. So we've got 1, 4, 8, 6. No 6s. Not 1 or 4. Not a 1. Not a 4. If this, so let's think about this actually. I'm sure we can actually solve it without even having to think about this. So if this is an 8, that would be 6, that would be 1. That looks good to me. And then this would have to be a 4. If this is a 4, neither of which can be 8, because it will be in a 2-to-1 ratio, and there are, hang on, we don't know if there's no black dots. So tempted to run away with this, but that is not true. But doesn't matter. This 8, that's a 1, and there are no black Kropke dots. So if this is a 4, this would have to be the 8. That's a 4-8 pair. That gives me the 6. This 12 cage now, same kind of logic that's in here. It can't be 4-8. This is 3, 5, 7, 9. No real items to restrict any of them. With this 5, 9 and this 3, 9, is that another quadruple? It looks like it, doesn't it? 3, 5, 7, 9, which makes this an 8, makes this a 7, makes this a 4, makes this an 8. There has to be a 7 in this cage, which makes this a 5, 7 pair. And that's a 9, that's a 3, that's a 9, that's a 5. We need, I mean, the rest of it, we need a 2 and a 3. They're both up here. That's the 2, that's the 3. We need 8 and 9. That 8 gives us the order. And that's 8, that's 9, that's 7 now, which is very helpful. It gives me 5, 7, 9, 7, 7. I can type. You know, it helps when you say it to yourself a few times. Eventually you will type better. This is not 3, 9. This is 5, 7. Which makes this a 3, makes this a 5. We know what these 2 cells are. It includes a 1, which can't be a neighbor of the 2. There's no black Kropke dot. That's a 1. That is a 9. That 1 removes this 1. Neither of these are 9 anymore. That is the 9. That's 2, 5 with a 2 in here. Interesting, but not enough. With the 5s also line up. So that's a 2, that's a 5. That 2 gives me the 2 in here. This is not a 2. That's a 6, 8 pair. That 2 can't be next to a 1 or 4. That is a 3. These are not 3s. Sorry, these are, yeah, they're not 3s. That can't be a 6. Next to this 3. What do we have in here? We have 3, 4, and 6. And same trick that we had in the opening, that the 3 and 6 can't be next to one another. The 4 must be the buffer. That's not a 4 either. I removed the correct number. That's not a 4. Am I missing something? Yes, that 3 was helpful. 5, 3, 7, 5, 1, 8. 6, 7. Yeah, I'm sure it's giving me more. That's a 6, that's an 8. That 1, which I put ages ago, somehow I ignored. 4, 1. I think we're basically done at this point. Yeah, that 7 gives me 6, 7, 3. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's the solution for today's puzzle. Have a heart, solve counter 814. Hopefully I got to this before it was featured elsewhere. But if you've already played it somewhere else, apologies for that. But nevertheless, I'm glad that I've solved it and featured it. I don't know if it's a gas puzzle or generally accessible Sudoku. I think by the time you're talking about negative constraints, it feels a step removed from gas to me. Nevertheless, phenomenal puzzle. I know that you guys love the fog, and this was another excellent fog puzzle from Megan 033. Hope that you guys enjoyed it, and stick around and see what the next fog playlist is coming along. There are plenty of good fog puzzles that we featured on this channel. Bye bye for now.